how did you manage to get the mindset that you could change things and that you were worth putting that effort in?
I just started. I just went, you know what? I'm better than this. I'm worth more than this. And I'm the only person who can treat me better. I had to trust that what I was investing in was going to bring me the reward that I was seeking. And I just felt really empowered by it because it was hard work.
Hi, and welcome to the BODi Experience. We're going into the summer months. We're getting there. They're even going to change the clocks this weekend. By the time this posts, we will have sprung forward, which actually can put an extra little challenge on your workouts because now waking up at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. to do your workout, if you work out in the morning like I do, now it's like you're waking up at 4 or 5 a.m. So I understand that it can get hard at this time of year, but I want to help you get into gear for a true feel-good summer, to get it in gear and keep it in gear for the healthiest summer of your life. We're talking consistent workouts, seeing changes in your body, healthy eating, feeling everything settle down and just feel better. And we do that by learning from people here on the BODi Experience who had to conquer their own obstacles to achieve actually some outrageous results. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Today, we're going to talk to Loreyna Rosenow, who lost, are you ready? 100 pounds in 17 months. That's almost 6 pounds a month, 2 pounds a week. And what's important about that is if you're starting a new fitness and nutrition program and you're expecting results, you might not be that impressed if in week one you only see the scale move by 2 pounds. But you know how you get to 100 pounds of weight loss? By stacking those weeks up on top of each other until eventually, after 10 weeks, you lost 20 pounds. And after 20 to 30 weeks, you lost, 40, 50, 60. And after 17 months, you finally cross that 100-pound line and you feel like a superstar. So let's bring Loreyna on. Thanks for joining us today. Hi,
Carl.
Okay. How did that feel to look down at the scale one day and realize that you lost 100 pounds?
Yeah, it was, I just remember marking it down every day as I went, and I'm a bunny for life, to be mindset. And I had this, I had it circled on my chart, and it was 2 pounds at a time. And my chart went by 2 pound increments. And, I had those goals every week, and I got closer and closer to the line, and I would share in the To Be Mindset community. I'm like, I'm closer. I'm 20 pounds away. I'm 14 pounds away. Oh, no. Okay. I'm 16 pounds away, because it wasn't this perfect linear decrease in weight. There were times where I went up a little bit, and there was times where I went down a lot more than I went up. But I remember it was a big red marker, and I circled it. And the first thing I did was I was just like, it was like a whole new level of wonderland. So wonderland is a term when you go from being in the 200 pounds to being in the 100 pounds. And I'm like, this is like a whole other level of wonderland, because I had more than 100 pounds to lose. So my journey didn't stop at 100 pounds lost, but I just was like, I did something, and I felt like I had done something big, and I just felt really empowered by it because it was hard work.
So let's start there, because I think starting can be the hardest part. Where were you 100 pounds ago, or wherever you are now? What was going on that put you in a situation that you weren't feeling that good and you needed to make a change?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. I wasn't feeling that good, and my life had taken a really unexpected turn, and I found myself as a single mom. I was working full time. I was really struggling with my mental health. I was really struggling with my compulsion towards food, inactivity, sedentary lifestyle, and I have some chronic health issues that we threw in there, and I was doing going back to school part time. And it was just a whole series of events that happened in my life where I couldn't look at my reflection in the mirror and say anything nice about myself. Even though I was a really joyful person, I loved life, and I have all of these tools and resources that I use to make myself feel better, but I couldn't look at myself in the mirror and say anything nice. And, as a strong person, I was like that. There's something wrong there. I'm missing something. There's something that's, there's a part of the picture that I'm not filling in here.
Mm. And so, how does that work though? Because some people, what I've seen is when they've got that feeling about themselves, they're depressed or they're attacking themselves. They almost perpetuate that and go in a downward spiral, or that becomes their identity. How did you manage to, get the mindset that you could change things and that you were worth putting that effort in?
Yeah, again, it was worthy. It was, you recognize that there's something missing. And I always tell people, because they're like, okay, but how did you start? I was like, I just started. I just went, you know what? I'm better than this. I'm worth more than this. And I'm the only person who can treat me better. I'm the meanest person to myself. I often identified with myself as a bully, right? The voices in my head. I was my biggest bully. And I'd be mortified. And looking at my children too, that was a big trigger for me, was like, if I spoke to my children the way I spoke to myself, or if I thought those thoughts, you would stop that person. And I was like, how can I stop myself from feeling this way? And I knew I had to take action. And that's where I tell people, you have to start. You have to start, even if it's just something small, just one small thing that you do differently every single day. And then, obviously I had been watching a very particular person in my life who had joined Beachbody, and she was posting, she's like, I feel so much better. I was really in a slump. And I saw one post one day, and finances were not my friend. And
Mm.
I really struggled, but my birthday was coming up. So my birthday's in May, and I joined in April. I bought it for my birthday because I knew I had to take action, and sometimes action requires some trust. And I had to trust that what I was, investing in was going to bring me the reward that I was seeking. But it really was just a moment of being introspective and thinking, I have to do better for myself in order to be better for my children. And it was a really horrible place to be. I'll be very honest with you. I was a very, very hurt and broken human being. And oftentimes, if I by chance find a photo of myself at that starting point, I wish I could tell her I'm sorry for being
Mm.
so unkind to the person I was, because I judged myself so much just on appearance sometimes. And it's a little heartbreaking for me to look back, but I'm here now. I call my 20s my broken years, my 30s were my healing years, and my 40s are, I don't even know what they're going to bring me, but I'm excited.
Yeah. Well, so it's interesting though that you said you needed to sort of suspend doubt, or you needed to uh, get over the questions and just go for it. What happens in that first week or two? Because we all know you don't lose 10 pounds. You certainly don't lose 50 to 100 that fast. And all those same behaviors and I don't know, the gratification that you get from certain eating choices or snacking choices to placate other emotions going on, especially if you're not seeing the scale move that fast. What was that first week or two like?
I actually reached out to my body partner, my original body partner. She's still my body partner. And I saw I screenshotted it, my very first message to her. And I was like, can you just tell me about this? Can you tell me, what my friend's doing, and explain it to me? And she invited me into a community. And, I often identify as a food addict. I treat my relationship with food as an addiction. And I know that's a really powerful and strong word to use, but I was 250 pounds and suffering majorly from mental health issues. And my obesity was a symptom of a greater problem that I was about to dive into. And I joined this incredible community. I shared a photo of myself, like chin up, because there's no full body photos of me out there. There's not very many. And I introduced myself to this community, and I had isolated myself, and we're just getting into COVID, but I was already a pretty quiet person. I was going through a very traumatic experience at the time, and I really turtled. I really went inside of myself and shut everybody out. And all of a sudden, I introduced myself to this community of about 200 other women, and they just scooped me up. And it had been so long since someone had said, "Wow, you're beautiful. Wow, you're doing a good job. Oh my gosh, look at you. This is your fourth day in a row." And we would post our sweaty selfies, and I would make these ridiculous faces. Like, a lot of the girls were like very, charming in their photos, and I'd look like Shrek, and I would make a joke. And, because I was the funny person, right? And I was
Mm.
really out of my comfort zone, but it was a private space. And that encouragement I got from those communities, don't even get me started on the To Be Mindset community, because we'll get there. But the community swept me up and gave me a circle of friends, a circle of people I could trust. And then I really started to open up more. And then I would show up, when I was really hurt and really broken. I was just out of a wheelchair at that time, and I was doing 10 rounds sitting down.
Wow.
Um, and I was like, okay, I'm really doing this. And I would reach out to my coach. I'm like, that was just, I couldn't do it. And I was crying. 10 rounds brought out so many tears in me, because you had to be really coordinated.
Mm.
And I wasn't, but I kept showing up, and I kept doing it, because instead of turning to food for that validation and encouragement and that little oomph of feel good, I had a community now saying, like, keep going, you're doing amazing. And the weight was secondary to like my mental health changes. And I really relate my success to the mental health resources, because if you've ever done 10 rounds, you're not just doing a workout program. The trainers are talking to you, and they're saying things that encourage you. And, you hate them, and you're punching at your screen, but at the same time, they're building you up, and they're lifting you up in a way that augments your confidence. And then you're in these communities that do the same thing. So it's like I replaced a toxic relationship with food with something that could uplift me and help me in my healing journey. So
Wow. I replaced a toxic relationship with food with something that could be uplifting. That's amazing. And the fact that you did it from a wheelchair, um, how do you just have a positive attitude, a can-do attitude? Like how did you get yourself to say this is going to be enough to start? I'm not wasting my time.
yeah, I joke around sometimes. It's like I'm a delusional optimist. And I think that just comes from, being a person who's spent a lot of time on her own, from a very young age. And I have been obese um, most of my life. Ever since I was a child, I was morbidly obese by the time I was in my teens, and very isolated. And I think that that little bit of feedback, any kind of positive feedback from something healthy, like exercising, or like making a healthy choice with your food, or like, trying Shakeology for the first time and not liking it, and then being like, wait a minute, I made it wrong, and giving it a second chance, or turning it into a dessert or something. It's all those little tiny things that you do, and you're all of a sudden on this path, and you're like, wow, I've tried to lose weight before, and it wasn't fun, and it was such hard work, and I couldn't stick with it. I always tell people there's that 3 week or 4 week danger zone of falling off, because you do something the first week, you see a teeny tiny little result, you have a little bit result the second week, and then the third week, all of a sudden your results have kind of petered off. And it takes so much work, and it takes so much more than your own determination. That's where the community comes in, right? It's just, it's been such an amazing experience. And I mean, I have nothing but thanks and gratitude, because I trusted the tools and resources. I trusted the trainers, and I got more than the results, because when I joined, I wanted physical results. I wanted to
Mm.
look in the mirror and be beautiful. But what I didn't realize was I was already beautiful. I just needed to use tools and resources to allow me to heal the relationship with myself. Like, the exercise and the nutrition part is huge, but honestly, it was the mental health change for me with BODi. I'm 100% where I am because it changed the way that I felt about myself, and the reflection I had and observations I had of the changes that were going on inside of myself. It really the health esteem. I really learned to be kinder to myself. And once I was kinder to myself, I no longer wanted to treat my body with, poorly with food or poorly with sedentary lifestyle. It was this like, it was this healthy toxicity that took over what was once just toxicity. I hope that
Interesting.
makes
So,
sense.
um, that's a big jump. But I want to. You said something. You you didn't like Shakeology at first.
Well, I was trying to be trendy and I was trying to make it green, and people were like, "Okay, put some kale in there, put some cauliflower," and I was trying all these different things, and I was just like, "Oh, no." So then what I did with it was I don't like, there's a certain texture I don't really like, so I ended up doubling the water. I put 750 milliliters of water in it and some ice, half a banana, and I just make it like that. Or sometimes I'll just shake just the powder up with the 750 milliliters of Shakeology, and I'm totally fine. But when I made it, like I tried some of the recipes that were on just the, like, this was a few years ago, but on the Beachbody blog, and I couldn't, the kale just I don't know if my blender wasn't good, but no, I've been drinking Shakeology for consistently now almost 3 years, and it was another major staple in just cutting out the cravings. I used to do half my Shakeology in the morning and half in the afternoon because I was really attached to that carb hit in the afternoon during my weight loss. And I found drinking like half the shake in the morning and half the shake in the afternoon really helped me not eat a big meal right before dinner. So Shakeology is another one of those things that it has really helped me in my journey because it's an absolute staple. I have it every single day and I enjoy it. I love it, but I don't mess with it too much because I actually just like it in its pretty original form. I will add like power greens to it and a couple other boosts, but I don't mess with the flavor too much. I just like it the way it is
So, were you generally drinking that for the whole period of your weight
the whole
loss?
time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
at first, I couldn't. It was a little out of my price range, and that's why I would drink half a scoop in the morning and half a scoop in the afternoon because that kind of helped me space it out a little bit.
Mm.
And then there were some days, like on the weekends or days I wasn't exercising, I would only have half a scoop because to me it was like this golden nugget that wasn't quite in my price range. But my life has changed now. I finished going back to school, and I have been drinking it every single day for probably 2 years. And it's a big staple in just helping me maintain the weight loss because I've maintained the weight loss for, oh gosh, I think we're going on 2 or 3 years now. So,
Wow.
and it's hard. It's just as hard to keep it off as it is to get it off in the first place. So,
So, I want to understand that. Um, what do you mean it's hard? What is it that makes it hard, and how do you manage to overcome that?
all right. So, that's kind of a really big question because again, I go back to that food addiction aspect, and I know that word addiction can be triggering to some people, but for me, that unhealthy relationship of, okay, I'm feeling upset or I'm feeling down, or I know that I don't want to be doing this right now, but my mind just kind of shuts off and I go and make the poor food choices. So to me, there's a lack of control somewhere inside of me. And although I'm doing a phenomenal job replacing those compulsions with healthier options, it's still a struggle because I still go through really, challenging times and difficult experiences. But instead of just going straight to food, which I mean, honestly, if I'm being really honest, sometimes that happens. My journey hasn't been completely perfect. It's not like I snapped my finger, joined Beachbody, and all my, compulsions and bad habits went away. This was years of learning about myself and developing better habits. And something I tell people all the time is I still have those habits. I just have healthier pathways. So I still love chocolate cake. I just make a chocolate banana mug cake. So I've taken all of those things that I would typically just go to town on when I get home from a stressful day at work. And I've replaced those with healthier options. So I can still eat until I'm satisfied, or I can still have something that's flavored with chocolate, but I'm having an egg and half a banana instead of eating a cake with 90 different ingredients. So it's still a challenge and I still make poor choices, but now I have the health esteem to go, you know what? The journey isn't perfect. I forgive myself. I'm going to do 645, 1% better every single day
Mm.
and forgive myself and move forward. And that's like BODi, it's tools and resources to replace the bad habits, because I'm still the same person I was when I started. I'm just better at managing the things that come up in my life. I'm far more resilient in a healthier way.
Yeah. So, um, it's interesting that you haven't graduated out of the ecosystem, because some people, when they, they get to a certain level and they've got the expertise, and now it's time they want to leave the home gym, go to the real gym or whatever, and start to tinker with it. But you've stayed here. I'm interested in that. Is it the community? What is it that keeps you here?
Uh, Honestly, it's a community, but it's also the trust I have. I know that this is what works for me. It's my atomic habit. I wake up in the morning, I go downstairs to my little, it's a hallway in my house. It's not big, and I push play, I pick a program, everything's just ready. There's no guesswork. And if I mess with things, because I've lived an entire 30 years of my life morbidly obese, there's a fear there of changing too much. And even though now I have the confidence, I actually have a gym pass and I can go if I want to, I don't not go because of shame and fear. I go now because of choice. And that's a big thing that's changed in my life, is I make choices now, not because I'm ashamed or not because I'm afraid, but because I know that those are the healthiest choices for me. And I have a full-time job. I have four incredible kids that all have various activities that they do all the time. Time is a great value to me. So my ability to wake up in the morning and go 40 steps down to my gym and push play. I had a friend of mine walk over. I have very few close people in my life. She walked over to my house this morning. We did a workout together and we were, in a safe and comfortable environment. It's something I enjoy sharing with people. And it just worked so well for me. And I love it so much. I don't have any desire to veer off and go somewhere else, but I get to pick. That decision is made by me, not because I feel ashamed going to the gym. And I did. Before I started BODi, I had a gym membership and I would go a couple times and I would humiliate myself. I would bully myself. I would see my reflection in the mirror and I would just feel uncomfortable. And that's not because anybody in the gym made me feel that way, or a gym environment. It wasn't that. It was my own health esteem, my own self-esteem. It wasn't at a place where I felt like I could use that as a tool to go anywhere, but that's because of my own self-limiting beliefs. Now I can go into a gym, no problem. If I go, away and go into a hotel, I'll use the gym and I feel fine. But, the BODi platform, it's just too easy. It's too easy to go off and try something else, because I've done, oh my gosh, probably 30 different programs. I've loved them all. There's been some where I'm like, okay, no, I can't put my hands down on the ground and flip my legs above my head. But there's tons of options. And then if I'm like, I don't really want to do this today, I'll just type something in. I'm like, okay, let's do yoga. Or when I have major health issues, sometimes I'm in a wheelchair, sometimes I'm stuck in a hospital for a week or two. And I'll play mindset videos. Like, there's such a variety, and I have so much trust in what's in there for me that I have no desire to kind of waver away from something. And the To Be mindset, that's a program you do forever. It's not like, okay, do this until you reach 100 pounds and you're done. You can't stop. You can't just stop because you hit 100 pounds, because that's why people end up yo-yo dieting. To Be mindset is something you have to do forever, because as human beings, we have to exercise and move our bodies every day. We have to fuel our bodies with healthy foods that are nutritious. So the To Be mindset, it's not ever something that I'll depart from, because it's too easy to do, and it's a lifestyle now. It's just part of who I am. I sometimes don't even have to think about it. That's just the way I eat now. It's second nature.
Amazing, Loreyna. Okay. This is all, it always blows my mind when customers, subscribers, partners get it sometimes better than I do. Uh, you talk about health esteem and self esteem. I can't, to this day, I've been doing this 25 years. I still can't work out in the gym. I want no witnesses. I'm doing it by myself. I don't even let the family come into the gym. But I want to ask you one more question, okay? And you've been so generous with your time and your story today. But this one might be a little personal. I'd love to know what you think your life would be like if 3 or 4 years ago you hadn't made that decision, that bold decision to join your friend with BODi, and you just hadn't taken charge and had the courage to go for it. What do you think? How do you think your life would be different?
I I don't know, and it makes me sad because that's a big question, and I've often wondered, what would I have done? Because my path, like I'm a strong person, I'm a strong woman, I'm you know driven, but oh, my heart's beating so fast. I don't know. I don't know what I would have done. I don't know where I would be because that simple that simple yes of like, okay, I'm going to give this a shot. Like I'm really going to give this a shot. It changed so much. It changed so much because, the community encouraged me to go back to school. It encouraged me to take control of so many things that were out of my life and or out of control in my life. And I worry because now, like I look at the human being that I am now, and I remember walking up to you because I wanted to say thank you because I have so much gratitude for the life I have now. And if I think about had I not made that choice, so much changed because of that such a small and you think, okay, I'm just joining a weight loss group. Let's just simplify it and call it that. But it did so much in my life and it changed so much in my heart and in my spirit and everything. Like I can't get into the nitty-gritties, but just being able to look at my reflection in the mirror and not feel loathing, like self-loathing, and look what you've done to yourself, like all of those awful things we say to ourselves. And I know there's a lot of people who know exactly what you say to yourself, and it's awful. I can't imagine being where I am now, feeling that way. And I don't know how I would have healed because I said yes to this. And then, you know, it made me want to do better everywhere. And then, I reached out and I got formal counseling and I made all these decisions in my life that I may not have made before because I wanted to do better. And you do the programs and you listen to these trainers and you do the mindset videos. And I know we've actually gone mindset. Mindset wasn't out when I was going through my most challenging things. I was doing the meditations and just that feeling of like, okay, you can forgive yourself. You can let this go. And, bar blend was so healing for me. It was so empowering to have those cards up on my wall and see that every day, or go downstairs feeling like garbage, feeling horrible for, being where I was, and then flipping something on and having someone say something nice like the trainers, and then go, posting my sweating selfie and having people say nice things to you that does something to you. And I know your question was like, where do I think I would be now? I can't even think about that because it isn't what is. And I don't want to, I don't want to think about it because it just makes me emotional. It makes me feel upset because I wonder who else is there. I wonder who else is there right now in their, seated in themselves where they're still their biggest bully. And I want to grab that person and hug them and say, like, you can do this. You can be kinder to yourself. You can be nicer. You can forgive yourself. You can literally heal from anything. That's the amazing power of being a human being. And I wish I could have done that for myself then and been kinder then, but this is my reality now, and this is where I'm seated, and I'm so happy and proud of myself. And not just that, like I'm incredibly grateful to the company. And I remember I just wanted to shake your hand when we were in Vegas, and I've met you before with my daughter during my journey. I was walking with a cane. I don't know if you remember me. We had tutus on. I have a picture, but my daughter came up to you and talked to you. But I've always wanted to shake your hand and say thank you because the change that I underwent as a human being, as cringy as it sounds, it honestly took me off a path that was so dark. and put me on a path towards healing. And I don't have an answer for you. I don't know what I would have done. I have so much gratitude. You have no idea.
Well, that's what's so valuable about the question and about your willingness to even search for the answer is I'm hoping there are people who are listening to this, or maybe there's somebody listening to this who knows somebody that they'd like to forward it to, uh, because this is the kind of conversation that somebody who's in that dark place, who hasn't made that choice yet, to see just a spark of a light on the horizon. That, gosh, can you give it a week? Can you give it 2 weeks? Can you see that you can heal your relationship with food, with movement? Forgive yourself for not being great at the movement from the first start. The fact that you did 10 rounds from a wheelchair blows my mind. And the fact that you were conscious enough to see that you've got to start treating yourself better in your mind in order to treat yourself better physically and to make different proactive or conscious choices around food. So I'm just so proud of you, proud to know you. I'm so glad
Thank
you,
you.
reintroduced yourself. Sometimes I can be dismissive of people in tutus. So I just see so many of them, but no, Loreyna, thank you so much for sharing your story today. And I'm sure it's going to help a lot of people.
Well, thank you for the opportunity and thank you for what you guys do. It's amazing.
Yeah. Incredible, Loreyna. All right. Thank you for inspiring all of us, and to anyone listening who is ready to start. It's time to commit to your own feel good summer, your own feel good season, because everything about your quality of life will be enhanced by being more active and improving the quality of your nutrition and your eating choices. But most important, like Loreyna said, improving the quality of your inner dialogue. And that's what BODi wants to help you with. That's what a health esteem routine is designed to do, so that you're not beating yourself up as you're taking care of yourself. You are praising yourself for taking care of yourself. And that's why we've got BODi previews. You can get access to 120 workouts from our BODi library of programs at bodypreviews.com. That gives you access to $60 of content for free. And you can even do our 14 workout challenge and see if you can lose, I don't know, the first 3 to 5 pounds in 14 workouts. We've seen it over and over again. And that's all available to you just in exchange for joining our email list. You can go to bodypreviews.com. That's BODi previews.com. And you can see which program speaks to you. And then you sign up and you can do that program. Now, if you also, maybe you're like Loreyna, you have a great BODi experience and we don't happen to be at the same event in Las Vegas, but I'd love to hear about what story you might have. Or maybe you'll start today and aspire in 3, 4, 5, 6 months to submit your story. You can do it to BODi Stories on Instagram. That's at BODi, again, BODi, at BODi Stories on Instagram. Also, if you want to get updates from me, whenever I post a new episode of the BODi Experience, or you want to get special offers and announcements, you can join I have a private text community. You can text me at 818-650-4369. That's 818-650-4369. And you just follow the prompts and I can get to know you a little bit, and I'll keep you posted. Just know that you deserve to feel good, love yourself, and to feel good about the way you are operating in the world. And that means you don't need to compare yourself or compete with anybody else. You just need to manage your own inner dialogue. And I'll tell you what, this morning, like I did my workout this morning, but it was 5 a.m. and it's the last thing I wanted to do. I was cozy. But when you made that agreement to yourself and your inner dialogue is more positive than negative, and you build that muscle, that's what gets you up. You take your Energize. Now you've got that hit of energy at 5 a.m. or 5:30 or whatever time, and you go do it. And even if you don't do it the best, at least you did it. And when you do it in the morning, I've found that also helps you be a little bit more conscious or disciplined around your food. Because, hey, man, I got up at 5 a.m. and did that workout, had my Shakeology. I make it in a way that makes it a breakfast for myself. But then my lunch, my decisions are different. And then dinner, my decisions are going to be different. And that's that. It starts with that first sort of kindling in the morning and the decisions that you make in the morning. And that's what BODi's here to help you do. Okay. So I hope you take advantage of all this inspiration, watch another episode, subscribe to the channel. Please let us know what you think of this episode down in the comments. And as always, thanks for joining us. And thanks for being a part of a community that wants to help people get healthy and fit and achieve their goals and lead healthy, fulfilling lives. Thanks, everybody. See you the next time on the BODi Experience.